You got access to all the high profile Twitter accounts around there.
Come on.
Nacho cheese. Good Saturday morning to you. Jackson Groff, Mike Gross at the Sportsbook at Casino, Arizona. CAZ Sportsbook, I should say. Casino, Arizona. Loop 101 in McKellips. We're taking up to 1 o'clock today. Come on out and see us. Enjoy a breakfast sandwich. Have you heard that one before, Jackson?
I don't think I have. I don't think I've ever tried the breakfast sandwich before.
How was it?
No, it was great. As always, CAZ Sports Bar in Casino, Arizona. They do it right. They always come and look at us, and they give you kind of the head nod, Gross. They know you want the breakfast Sammy. I'm usually on and off. I'm on a diet right now.
Stop it.
But they usually give you a head nod because I think you're on like a 14-week streak.
Something like that. And it's cool because I walk by, like we get set up, we're getting ready to do the show, and then I'm walking over. It's like over to say good morning to the guys at the counter and pick up the sheet, see what's going on here. And I walk by our friend, the waitress, and I just give her I'm a manager making a pitching change. I walk by and threw her the two. And she's like, white bread? I'm like, nodded. And that's it. It's like making the pitching change here at the Sportsbook. But we enjoyed those. They powered us up, ready to go for the next 2 hours with you. And a lot to get to, Jackson. Two competing stories front and center. Suns, Nuggets. They start the Western Conference semifinals this evening in Denver. And we're going to talk to Dave King from Bright Side of the Sun coming up at 11:30 as we break that one down. And you and I were talking about it before we went on air. A lot of competing opinions on this one, where you go out and look at the experts and the numbers, and you know the Suns are. If you're just betting who's going to win the Western Conference, the Suns are still the favorite. But when you drill into this series, again, a lot of competing opinions and a lot of competing numbers when you drill into it when you're at a place like the CAZ Sportsbook.
Yeah, and the thing about this series that compares to the last series is there were no real superstars. I guess you could say Russell Westbrook was on the come up back to his superstar days. But, I mean, today is Nikola Jokic is the trending topic, the trending guy over there for Denver. And how will this defense for the Suns combat and play against a guy like Nikola Jokic? When you look at it, I feel like Ayton's had some good outings against that beat of Jokic, but he's going to have to play a more unselfish role. He's been playing unselfish offensively, but he's going to have to exert more energy on the defensive side of the ball because it's going to be a more of a liability for the Suns team against Jokic. I'm excited. It's going to be a great match. There's a lot of great matchups that we'll get into.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But the Suns, the Nuggets, they get underway 5:30 this afternoon our time. And if you're out and about and find yourself on the east side, stop by the Sportsbook here at Casino, Arizona. They'll take care of you. If you want to maybe make a wager on this one, the guys at the window, they're here ready to take care of you. And while you're here, stop by, have some lunch or dinner.
Say hi.
And enjoy the game. Got the big screens going. We're watching the Tigers and the Orioles on a couple TVs, a lot of draft coverage on other TVs. So the CAZ Sportsbook is where you want to come for that. All right. The other competing story, the draft.
Yeah, you just mentioned it. The NFL draft underway, rounds 4 through 7. It's one of those that you kind of, if you're watching the broadcast, you kind of have in the background and kind of, glare every once in a while to see who gets picked 4 through 7. But it's been a hell of a draft. I think the first round kind of shocked a lot of people, especially the top 3 when the Texans traded up. And then it's being reported now. It explains why the Lions picked a running back at 12. DeAndre Swift has been –
It does not.
I guess it doesn't. I mean, if he turns out great, then it's a great pick. I mean, yes, the value of running back
it's
at 12 is not good, but
who was the best running back in this draft?
Bijan Robinson.
He got drafted at 8 to the Falcons.
Correct.
The Falcons are getting killed for that pick.
But
Because you could have dropped down and gotten that same pick later.
I don't think so. I think the Eagles would have gotten him at 10.
Do you?
Yes, I full-heartedly believe that the Eagles would have got him at 10. Just like for the Cardinals, yes, you could say Paris Johnson Jr. at 6 was a high pick for a tackle, but when you look at picks 10 and 11, they're both tackles off the board.
Yeah.
So Cardinals to get him at 6 instead of 3 was a plus, and a future first-round pick, which we'll get into because we're both disagreeing on which pick the Texans gave to the Cardinals.
Well,
and I think which pick they gave us is huge. It's significant because one of them's owned by the Browns and one of them's owned by the Texans.
And the Texans pick will be more valuable next
year.
100%.
100%.
So we'll get our research staff on that. Which pick from the Texans did the Cardinals get and retain for? It's the Texans one we have from
Richie. Okay, well that's good news.
2024.
Coward said yesterday on his show that it was going to be the Browns pick. So
I trust Richie more than
I trust Richie and his sources that it is the Texans pick, which is huge. And it's also going to put the Cardinals in a situation where their name is going to be associated with Will Anderson. So however Will Anderson does, the Cardinals are going to be either owned for it or they're going to be trashed for it, or whoever the Cardinals get for that Texans pick next year, it'll even itself out. Maybe a Marvin Harrison Jr.
I don't think it'll be solely the Cardinals are associated to Will Anderson Jr. I think it's how does this thing look 2-3 years down the line, right? Because if you look at it, it wasn't that they pass on a certain player, Terrell Suggs. It's who they got in return as part of that deal, Calvin Pace, Brian Johnson. Then it looks bad. So I think you've got to look at it and balance it out. And I think having the Texans first-round pick next year, that's a top 10 pick.
Could you imagine if the
top 10, so you got potentially 2 top 10 picks?
If the Cardinals got 1 and 2, could you imagine that? Because I mean, if you're the Cardinals 1 and 2, you think, hey, do we want to go Caleb Williams? Maybe let go of Kyler, but his contract's so bad, I think you're stuck with him for the next 4 to 5 years. But that number 2 pick, you could get a Marvin Harrison Jr. or you could keep the number 2 and trade the 1 and get a lot of assets. Because that pick next year, that number 1 pick next year for Caleb Williams, you thought the Panthers trading up for the Bears was a lot. This one's going to be 10 times more because people say Caleb Williams is the second coming of Mahomes.
And if you look at what Monty Ossenfort has done and what he's acquired, and the value that he's created, because this wasn't a one player away. I get it. If they were one player away and they did what they did, if you needed an edge guy, totally get it. But this team has so many holes, and we'll get into it. Alex Clancy from Clancy's Corner is going to join us. He's the host of Locked On the AZ Cards. We're going to talk Cardinals, talk draft with Alex coming up in hour number 2. Also in hour number 2, Ryan from the Sportsbook here by for his weekly visit.
Casey.
Why do I always do that?
I don't know. You missed Ryan, I guess. I don't know.
Well, it's on my notes. I got to do Ryan's picture. I got to write this down. Last week when Casey came on, I was staring at his name tag, so I didn't forget. I would have. You know how you get something in your brain?
Yeah.
And then you just can't let it go?
I mean, it took you like a month to understand my name. So
what's your name?
I understand. Groff. Jackson? Jax?
There we go. Casey from the Sportsbook here will join us in hour number 2 as well. Want to get to him about what are some of the trends, what is he seeing from the Suns fans. Suns advance, and we'll get Casey's thoughts from Sportsbook here also in hour number 2. Speaking of our good friend, Ryan Sirk, there you go. I knew I needed to get Ryan in here somehow in the first segment. He's on a little bit of a streak, 4-2 in his last 6 picks from the EPL. Your EPL pick of the week brought to you by our national champion, Ryan Sirk. And he's kind of branching out here a little bit. If you listen regularly, he's been taking like goal totals and things like that. He's kind of branched out a little bit. And he is going on a player prop. I like that, Ryan, branching out. He thinks that Mo Salah is going to score a goal tomorrow in the Liverpool-Tottenham match. Mo is the top scorer for Liverpool, but shut out in his last match. And he thinks he's going to get that one tomorrow in a big match as the EPL season winds down. So the pick of the week from Ryan is Mo Salah for a goal, plus 100 if you look at that online. And if you go first goal scored in the match, it's like plus 370. So depending on which way you want to go, be careful when you log in to make that wager. To score a goal plus 100. First goal scorer of the match plus 370 for Mo Salah. That's Ryan Sirk's pick of the week right here on Take the Points. So what we'll do here, Jackson, is we'll step aside real quick, take care of some business. On the other side, let's jump into the Suns and the Nuggets. This is a huge series, one we knew was coming, and both these teams dispatched their first-round opponents in 5, setting up the showdown tonight at 5:30 in Denver. We'll talk about that more coming up next on Fox Sports 910.
Not working for Twitter.
Casey from CAZ.
Yeah, write Casey 8 times so you remember.
Terrible. Charles Barkley. Terrible.
Terrible.
I think the Kentucky Derby's next week.
I think it is.
So I will text Marco and see if he can join.
My mom and my stepdad are working the Kentucky Derby.
In Kentucky?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
I don't know what they're doing, but once you work it, you get like free tickets to the Kentucky Derby for life.
How cool is that?
Crazy.
I'm on it. You feel bad for Will Levis?
Not at all. He's still gonna make like $4 million.
Sitting there with his hotties.
Facts. He's great. Okay.
Hey, do me a favor. Awesome. Will you retweet from the Fox?
Oh yeah, I got
our
you.
poll, and we'll throw it out there. We got like 70 some on the first one. And this one is just you and me. We already got 20.
I want to take the points. I gotta go.
Golfers. There we go.
Yeah, Rock was like, how did you guys' poll get 70 votes? I was like, because Gross knows the hashtag game. Because he's smarter.
Who does your poll? Manouche? The Monday
Our other board op guy does it.
We ain't messing around, Jackson.
Yeah. We out here, bruh.
I remember, this will show you how long I've been working for Rock. When Twitter first came out, he's like, hey, you got to sign up for Twitter. I'm like, what's that? He's like, I need it. I'm going to do it in the show. We're all going to do it. I'm like, what is it? He goes, I'll explain it to you later. Just download Twitter.
That's actually crazy.
It just says I've been with him too long.
Twitter is like my number one news outlet where I get all my news from.
Kind of.
All my sports news.
It's a starting point, I think.
Mm-hmm. It's me. It's your girl. Happy 4/29. The fact that Daniel Jeremiah predicted the Texans trade was crazy.
I don't see how, and he probably got laughed at.
Yeah, he did.
Checking the numbers here at the CAZ Sportsbook. Tip time 5:30 from Denver, Colorado. Opening game between the Nuggets and the Suns in the semifinals of the Western Conference.
Let's go.
Denver Nuggets have gone to a 3.5-point favorite, Jackson.
Oh,
The point total now at 227.5. Yesterday we tweeted out the opening line, and it started right around at 2.5. And so obviously we know, as we learned a lot of lessons from our good friend Marco D'Angelo, follow the money, right? And that means that there's money going in on those Denver Nuggets in game one, a place where, they were really good this year, where they ended up losing 9 games in the regular season.
yeah.
So not necessarily surprising, but 3.5 and 227.5 is the number.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this Nuggets depth chart right now, the main guy to look out for is Nikola Jokic. Jokic versus Ayton. I don't know which is a better matchup, Jokic versus Ayton or Jamal Murray versus Devin Booker, both ex-Kentucky Wildcats. I mean, Jamal Murray's had a good postseason so far, but I mean, Devin Booker's on another level. So how can Devin Booker, with the altitude in the Mile High City, how will Monty adjust his minutes with him, Chris Paul, and KD? I expect Campaign to get a lot more minutes tonight. I expect him to probably get around 15 to 20, and I would expect maybe Chris Paul to get about 28 to 32. Would you say?
I would say, I mean, you're getting to the point now where, and how nice was it as a Suns fan to see the Chris Paul, I don't want to say the Chris Paul of old because that sounds unfair, but, Chris Paul had a really nice series against the Clippers. And you want to massage that and make sure you have it for the long haul, because I know a lot of people, yourself included, think this might be a quick one. So you want to have Chris Paul for whatever comes next, and ultimately
quick one in favor of Suns. For listeners out there that don't tweet
you.
at me after the show, but I think when you look at this Nuggets team, I mean, you've got Murray probably facing up against Booker. You got KCP against Chris Paul and Michael Porter Jr. If Michael Porter Jr. is guarding KD, I think you give KD the ball a ton. He's not a good defender. And I think this is KD's series to kind of take over. It was Devin Booker's last one. I think this is why you bring Kevin Durant to the Suns for series like this against the Nuggets, who got a lot of veteran talent and got a lot of depth.
Speaking of what you think is going to happen in this series, check out our Twitter poll. You know how we love Twitter and polls, and combine the two. Our Twitter poll today is what do you think happens in this Western Conference semifinals? Denver wins in 4 or 5 games. Denver wins in 6 or 7. Suns in 4 or 5, and Phoenix in 6 or 7. Check that out at Fox 9/10 Saturday. Right now, Jackson, the only overwhelming favorite is the Suns in 6 or 7 games at 56%, followed by the Suns in 4 or 5 at 24%. And I like the 6 or 7 game choice in either angle, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think this is going to be a quick series like these two teams had in the opening round. I don't see it. My heart says I'd love to see this continue for the Suns, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to say the Suns win this thing and do it quickly. But my head says, man, this Nuggets team is good at home. This Nuggets team is finally healthy. You look at the last couple of years, a lot of questions. They've had the MVP, but they haven't been able to get it done in the postseason. Well, that's because they haven't had a full roster. They haven't had this team together. And you look at it, you just mentioned it, even with the liability that Michael Porter Jr. might be on defense if he gets paired up against Kevin Durant. It's still Michael Porter Jr. playing, where they haven't had him in the last couple of years in the postseason. So I definitely would love to see the Suns take care of this, but man, my head is like, be careful here. Be really careful, because this is a Nuggets team that lost 9 games at home all year long.
And it's crazy because both teams have really good home fan bases. So they play their best ball at home. So who's going to be that team that snags one on the away side? And the Suns to come out off the bat tonight to win one in Denver, I think would set the tone for the whole series. If it goes 6 for them, I think that's great. If it goes 5, even better. But 7 in Denver is scary. If it goes to 7 in Denver, I think that's very scary. But I mean, I'm excited for this game. I think this is a must-win for the Suns. If you want to set the tone early, they got to start out hot though. They've been their first quarter has been tremendous. If they could have a quarter like in the third quarter, score 50 points, I mean, I'd be in favor of that.
You going back to what you said about Denver and the fans there, like this is a city. It's different than Phoenix, right? They're both big cities.
Mm-hmm.
They both got the 4 majors, but it's just a different city. The sports fan in Denver, I mean, they're going to love you when you're winning, and you're absolutely right. You saw that arena as they were closing out the Timberwolves or whatever you watched in that series. And same thing with the Avs. Same things with the Broncos. When the Broncos stink, they still pack the stadium and let the team know they're not happy about it. The Phoenix fan base is different. And I love what I'm seeing in the arena downtown now, the Footprint Center, now that this team is playing great basketball the last, 3 years now. But there was a stretch there during that playoff drought. You could get a seat for cheap, and sometimes it wasn't full, and it was always full of Laker fans or whoever else was in town. It's just a different fan base. But you hit the nail on the head. We got to get Fat Lever. Maybe next Saturday we'll get Fat Lever.
It's funny you said Fat Lever. So he was on Rocket Manooch with Jimmy B yesterday, and he talked about how if Denver will win if they slow the pace down, and then for the Suns they will win if they guard Jokic. He just said guard Jokic, limit him to under 20 points, and you'll win this game. And I'm interested to see what Monty's going to do. We'll talk to Dave King next segment, how they're going to rotate their bench. Well, guys like Biyombo and Landale, who we didn't see much last series, will he get more minutes? Because it's going to exhaust Ayton. The amount of defensive energy he's going to have to use.
Not his game.
I know it's not, but he has to.
No, I know.
For Jokic.
I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
But my concern is that's not his game.
He doesn't want it. He doesn't want to do that.
Doesn't want it, right? And even on the other end, like you would hope, but I don't see it happening. You would hope that DeAndre Ayton, when they're on the offensive side, would do something to get Jokic in foul trouble. But again, there's a guy that averaged 3.2 free throws per game this year, right? So that's not his game. He doesn't have any interest in backing somebody down and trying to mix it up that way. So that's my concern. If it comes down to that matchup, I don't know.
DeAndre,
I prove wrong.
hey, DeAndre, if you are listening to this, my brother, hey, if you want to win a championship, you got to put in the work, put in the gritty, unselfish work. We saw you last series do it, and this series we need you even more because you are the X factor of this series.
The step up from the Clippers, and especially the Clippers minus Kawhi Leonard, to this, I mean, it's a huge step up. And when you were saying that, I had a visualization of DeAndre Ayton in the hotel room in Denver. Maybe just coming back from lunch, just relaxing before they get on the bus to go over. And he's got the podcast. He's listening to us online.
On iHeartRadio
app. On the iHeartRadio app. He's like, shh. Jackson's giving me some advice. Hang on a second.
Or maybe he's one of our 2 viewers on YouTube right now because we're live streaming that are watching.
Whatever it is. But you're right. However we get there, you're right. And I think game 1 kind of sets a tone, right? Not necessarily the win or the loss, right? Because we saw the Suns lost game 1 to the Clippers, still were able to come back and win that series. But I'm talking about the tone. How is it going to be played? How are these teams going to match up? And I think there's a lot of pressure on Monty as well. You talked about making sure you get those bench rotations right. What are the minutes going to be for some of these guys? There was questions last season about Monty Williams. You go back to that New Orleans series that Willie Green kind of out-coached Monty Williams, but the Suns just out-talented the Pelicans. Right. And so does that continue? I don't know, but we'll see. But I think that is a big part of it. So when you talk about these matchups, I think at or near the top of the list has to be the coaching, the chess match between the 2 coaches.
So we are a sports betting show, and I love throwing these player props out at you. Gross. So let's start with player points. Devin Booker, over under 30.5. Over. Kevin Durant, over 27.5. Over under.
I said over last time, and he didn't do it.
Yeah.
No, under.
Under?
Yep.
That's what I was thinking, too. DeAndre Ayton, over under 15.5 points.
Under. I see him with an 11 and 11 night.
So right now you say over, under. If that happens, I think the Suns lose, which is sad to say. Chris Paul, over, under 14.5 points.
Over.
All right, he gets the over there. Jamal Murray, over, under 23.5 points. Under, okay. Jokic, over, under 26.5.
Over.
There you have it, folks. Those are the player props.
I'm writing these down so I remember what I said, and we'll see how it goes. All right, we're going to step aside here. We'll bring in a professional to help us break this down. Dave King from Bright Side of the Sun. He joins us next here on Fox Sports 910. I put his number on the sheet there, Richie. Cool.
It's me. I gave all day my speech that I want. I called day I lost all the friends that you gave. Catching nights. Oh. 2 Red Bulls, dangerous.
What's that?
The 2 Red Bulls, dangerous.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to be bouncing off the walls.
And then you're going to go home and crash.
I can't wait.
3:30, you're just going to be on the couch going, ooh. Try to grab a quick nap before this.
Golly, your tweets are quick, bros.
That's me showing Rock. Showing Rock what's up. I'll apply for the job as a social media director for Rock and Minucci.
Do it.
And the first thing I'll do is take Twitter away from Dan Minucci.
Facts. And take it away from Ben Garcia or board up. So annoying on Twitter.
The other reason ours got more votes is because ours is better.
Yeah,
The question was better.
It was. And you had the hashtags too, bro. The hashtags, bro. It's me.
Ah, great factoid.
Is it about the Suns?
Yeah.
Wow. Nothing new under the sun. Nobody... Call 977-1900. That's got to be the greatest slogan of all time.
Did I ever tell you the story where you were having Kevin Rowe on and I was filling in one day?
No.
And you know how you give the phone number out when he's on? I almost gave it because I was looking at the show sheet that Minucci does, and it said call Kevin Rowe at 488, whatever his cell phone number is.
Mhm.
And then underneath it, it's like, whatever the tagline is. And I almost gave out his cell phone number.
That's funny.
I was like, oh, come on. You're dumb. Thank you.
Attaboy. Yeah, Tony Mejia last week was not good.
No.
It's okay. Now we know.
5:30 this evening from Denver. You've got game one, Nuggets and the Suns. And as we said a moment ago, the line has moved. The Nuggets are now 3.5-point favorites, and the over-under sits at 227.5. Help us break down and look at this game. Friend of the program, always glad when he answers our calls. Dave King from Bright Side of the Sun joins us. Dave, it's Mike and Jackson. How are you today?
What's up, Dave?
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. And Jackson and I talked about it yesterday because we tweeted something out where it came, I don't know that it was necessarily the opening line, but, 24 hours ahead, you're sitting at 2.5. And I think you're right, Dave. I think it's just follow the money. And it might be, and this is where I want to go with you to start this thing off. Here's a team in the Denver Nuggets that only lost 9 games at home during the regular season in their arena there. It might just simply be that, right? People looking at it, they're trying to look at the numbers, trying to figure things out, trying to get an edge. And it might just simply be that. I don't know because there's no other reason. But this is a good Denver Nuggets team, and it's especially good Denver Nuggets team when they're at home, don't you think? Go by the way. Dave King with us, and I just retweeted on our Twitter page a preview that Brightside put out, and your colleague Kyle Glazier had a great factoid, and we love it when we see stuff like this. And I think intuitively I knew it, but until I saw it in writing, I was not aware. This is the first time that the Suns are on the road for a game one in a series since 2010. Dave, that's got to look at the calendar to know that's a long time ago. So it changes the dynamic a little bit for this coaching staff and for the team tonight.
Dave King, my question to you is, do you see the bench rotation against a Denver team that, has got taller players versus the Clippers who got a lot of, wings and guards on their bench? Do you see it changing some guys off the bench? And my second question to you, can we expect Landry Shamet to not be on the court, please? I'm always confused why he's out there and why he's the first guy off the bench and why Terrence Ross hasn't gotten any minutes. Dave King, Bright Side of the Sun, joins the show. Take the Points on Fox Sports 910. And Dave, I kind of want to backtrack outside of the series. There was other news this week, actually a couple days, maybe yesterday, that Matt Ishba and the Suns are going to leave Bally and go to Channel 3 News locally. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that new broadcast partnership with the Suns and Mercury.
There we go. Talking Suns with Dave King from Bright Side of the Sun. And Dave, back to this series. Jackson and I were talking in our last segment, and you look at these different matchups and where the Suns need to try to get things done. How important is DeAndre Ayton going to be with any success that the Suns have? I know this guy has a lot of pressure on him, a lot of eyes on him, and hasn't always lived up to the expectation. I think he's got a tremendous opportunity in front of him here with this series to help this Suns team advance. Mm-hmm.
Dave, it seems like all the national media is so focused on the Suns' minutes and how, Durant's averaging 42, 43, Booker's averaging 45, and Chris Paul is averaging 39. Do you see the elevation kind of playing to a factor like guys like Chris Paul and Kevin Durant who are much older? And do you know what the status is on campaign if we can expect more minutes out of him and maybe relieve Chris Paul?
Wrapping up with Dave King here, talking Suns, Nuggets, and Dave, you know how we love our Twitter polls here at Fox 910 Saturday. Our question of the day today is what happens in this series, and it's 4 choices: Denver in 4 or 5 games, Denver in 6 or 7 games, and then the same thing for the Suns: 4 or 5 games, 6 or 7. We want to put you on the record, Dave King. What happens in your mind in this series? Mm-hmm. All right, there we go, Dave King. Hey, Dave, as always, good stuff. We appreciate your time on game day, and I'm sure we're all hoping for a deep run by the Suns so we can have you back on talking Suns here in the near future. Dave King, appreciate his time today, breaking it down. Jackson will update our Twitter poll before we get out of here again at Fox 910 Saturday. Who do you think wins this series? Denver in 4 or 5 has 6% of the vote. Denver 6 or 7 has 15%. The Suns in 4 or 5 games at 21%. That's you.
I think it's 5. I seriously think the Suns team. This is the series they take to a new level. Suns in 5.
Suns in 6 or 7. That's 58%. The majority of our respondents.
And that's where you're falling.
Suns or in 6 or 7, and that's where I fall as it stands right now. Thanks again to Dave King. We'll step aside here. We're going to talk NHL on the other side, Jackson. Let's get ready. NHL playoffs.
Oh, Lord.
What a great postseason going on in the National Hockey League. We'll talk about that next, coming up on Fox Sports 910.
NHL.
Nutty. Dude. Not that game, but the overtime game before. I was watching it, and I went on FanDuel, and I had $5. And so I picked 5 guys at $1 each to score in overtime. And I took Kachuk was one of them. So $1 paid me $15. But it is so crazy. You look at all 3 of these games tonight. They're all 3-2. All 3 of the higher seeded teams can close it out tonight, and I think 2 of the 3 will play a game 7. Well, I've got a stat that I'll drop on everybody in that one. And Richie, feel free to drop in on this conversation if you'd like, because Jackson's looking at me like he just Googled, what is hockey?
I don't know. I have not watched a single hockey. I'll read notes from someone.
What did you say?
I'll read notes online.
I intentionally did it in our short segment.
Yeah, because then we can talk draft, and then we got 2 segments with Clancy. We'll be good.
Yep. This should be a 3-hour show.
Facts.
This is classic. Jason Tatum just apologized to Janet Jackson.
I saw that, yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Happy birthday to Dontavian Wicks. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Yesterday, Minuch, he's like, put the clip up for the show of me predicting Anthony Richardson to the Colts. And he literally said like 3 teams, and then he mentioned Colts, and that was his prediction for Anthony Richardson. He's like, I think he's going to go to the Commanders, Titans, or Colts. And I had to cut that out, so he just said Colts.
Don't do it.
I did. I had to.
Tell him that violates your professional ethics.
He's like, oh, I got it right. I got it right. You impressed? I'm like, no. Like,
I think he might go to, and then name all 32 teams, and then you just say it.
I think he's going to go to. That's like, I'm going to make a video for every player in the draft. I'm going to be like, this guy's a steal, this guy's a steal, or this guy's a bust. So then I get one of them right. Dontavian Wicks. What a name. Happy. Felix Nduke Uzama. What a name.
More plus play.
I think the Cardinals are having a great draft, to be honest. BJ Ujulere, love it. Garrett Williams, love it.
I don't get the last pick.
Michael Wilson. Yeah, I don't get Clayton Tune either. Why not draft a center?
Yeah.
Huh? Why not draft?
I would have taken the guy that the 49ers just took, the guy from Michigan.
A little biased there, huh?
No, he's good.
A little biased, eh?
Maybe, but he's good. Take a center. I don't care where. Just take you a center.
Take a corner. Take a wide receiver. I don't know. Take something but a quarterback.
Arizona, there's a Twitter page called Arizona Sports History or something like that, and they're killing Steve Keim right now.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Welcome back. Jackson Croft, Mike Gross, take it to 1 o'clock today. Thanks again to Dave King for joining us in our last segment. Great breakdown of the Suns and the Nuggets. Appreciate his time as always. Another postseason going on, and it makes us miss all those years the Suns weren't in the postseason. You watched it from the outside looking in. You didn't really have a hometown vested interest. That's kind of where we're at with the NHL playoffs right now. Although, shout out to Richie. He put something on Twitter the other day about Taylor Hall and the wins that he has versus the wins that the Coyotes have in the postseason recently. And I totally whiffed and forgot about the NHL and their bubble season in the post. The Coyotes, Richie, keep me honest here, they beat the Predators in the opening part of that thing and then advanced. I can't remember who they played the next. So I forgot about the NHL bubble playoff season where the Coyotes were actually part of it. But like Dave King said, we put an asterisk next to the bubble. But we'd love to have the Coyotes back in the NHL postseason, but it's going on. 3 games tonight. 3 really good games tonight. And what you've got, Jackson, is a couple of teams that I think, if you're watching this, the experts or so-called expert expected at least 2 of these teams to advance more easily than they're not eliminated yet. But the first game up today is Toronto. They travel to Tampa for Game 6. The Leafs lead that series 3-2, but Tampa is making them work. And look, this is a team in the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is kind of like, and you're not a hockey fan.
No.
I would equate this to the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL, right?
Okay.
This is
Canada's team. So they've never won a championship?
Well, they haven't won a championship in a while.
Okay, that makes sense.
67, I believe. And this is a team that is absolutely loaded, top to bottom, one of the best, if not the best rosters in the National Hockey League. And if I was betting on this series, I would have taken, just like our poll question, I would have taken Toronto probably at 5 in this one. And here they are playing a Game 6 in Tampa. And I expect, and I think Richie agrees with me, he knows a hell of a lot more about hockey than I do, that this one's headed back to Toronto for Game 7. Tonight you've got Maple Leafs at Tampa. Tampa's a 1.5 favorite in that one. And I don't know that I'd go 1.5, but I'd probably take Tampa on the money line on this one from Florida tonight. Austin Matthews, you know who Austin Matthews is, don't you?
Duh.
AM 34.
Oh, yeah. He's a stud. He's a stud.
He should be a Coyote someday. We all hope. I mean, this guy's playing out of his mind in the postseason, but again, struggling a little bit against the Lightning. And then you've got the New York City matchup, basically. I guess across the river, you got the Devils and you've got the Rangers, a series that ABC absolutely loves because every chance they get, they're putting it on network TV. But this was a weird one in that the Rangers went into Jersey and won the first 2 games on the road, and then the Devils returned the favor and headed to Madison Square Garden. Bucket list, by the way. I want to go see a hockey game at Madison Square Garden. And the Devils won that one. Now the Devils sit up 3-1 or 3-2 in this one. But again, they're back at Madison Square Garden tonight. And then finally tonight, the Oilers and the Kings. And I would put the Oilers as kind of a 1B team. If Toronto is the most talented team in the National Hockey League.
But how about
the Oilers are right behind?
How about Connor McDavid, the next Gretzky, or what?
I'm just talking
64
roster
goals,
top to bottom. I mean, individually, yeah, I get it, but roster top to bottom, you look at it, and I would go Toronto then Edmonton, but what's the old saying? I'd still go with Edmonton if you force me to, right? And both these franchises got a little bit of help with the draft lottery and things like that, where they've acquired this talent. And then were smart in terms of how they assembled the rest of the players around them. I know a lot of people were hoping for an Oilers-Leafs championship series, Stanley Cup Finals, but you got to get out of the opening round to do that. And the Oilers, I think, having a little bit more trouble with the Los Angeles Kings than a lot of people expected. And I slept on the Kings all year. And this is a team that did get 100 points during the regular season. But again, their roster and their experience is nowhere close to where the Edmonton Oilers is, but boy, they're battling them, and it's been a hell of a series. So you got 3 great series coming up. And then tomorrow, a team that we talked about in the Boston Bruins, a team that's got 135 points in the regular season. They're going home to play a Game 7 against the 8th-seeded Florida Panthers.
Upset.
This is just crazy hockey, and this series is bonkers. Overtime win the other night. Matthew Tkachuk scores the game winner at the Garden in Boston. And then they go back down and beat them 7-5, I believe it was, to force this Game 7. And then they avalanche to close out the conversation on the hockey this weekend, tomorrow evening in the Mile High City, as they will convert Ball Arena from basketball tonight to hockey tomorrow, as the upstart Seattle Kraken are really pushing the Avalanche to the brink in that one. So a lot of great hockey going on in this postseason, Jackson. A lot of overtime. And here's the thing, and this is a stat that I have. I took a page out of Marco D'Angelo's. The Toronto Maple Leafs are 0-11 in their last 11 deciding games in the playoffs. That's a string that has to break at some point. I don't care. You're not a huge hockey fan. I don't care if you're talking about hockey or whatever. Sooner or later, a streak like that, the numbers have to break your way, don't they?
That's a lot. It's a lot of games.
0-11. Is where the Maple Leafs find themselves, going back to where we started on this. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm a fan. We got the hometown reason to like the Maple Leafs, but man, sooner or later this has to give.
So allow me to
miserable fan base.
Allow me to connect the dots here. You said 0-11, so you said that Tampa Bay was going to win tonight, so that'd be 0-12, right?
I would not be surprised to see a Game 7 forced on the Maple Leafs. Honestly, I wouldn't. So you are absolutely correct. That goes to 0-12 if that happens. I'm trying to figure out what to do. I have a winning ticket from the sportsbook here at CAZ from last week, and I'm going to go cash it in. I'm trying to figure out what to do with my proceeds, and I might just go money line the Lightning tonight.
Pair it up with the Suns?
Unless somebody talks me out of it. We'll step aside here. Our number one's in the books. On the other side, we're going to do a deep dive into this NFL draft, and we'll talk a lot of Arizona Cardinals. And don't forget Casey from the sportsbook here at Casino Arizona will join us for his weekly visit. That's all coming up next. Hour number 2, Take the Points, all right here on Fox Sports 910.
Nice. I got a poo.
Did I say anything wrong, Richie? All right, cool. Jackson wasn't helping me out.
I know. I only know Connor McDavid. That's it. Literally it.
Dave Key.
He was good.
He's like the dude sitting around on the couch watching, like that guy that knows an awful lot about one thing.
Yeah. What a guy.
Benny and the Jets.
It'd be so crazy to get your name called in the draft. Maybe I'll get a call today.
We're way off the board.
Like, hello? We saw your practice film. We want you on our team.
We think you got something to offer. Did you put Clancy stuff on the sheet for Richie?
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys had him on before, Clancy? I don't think I've ever talked to him.
It was just me. No, it was just myself. That one show I did by myself.
So when you were stacking guests all day?
I only had Gerald and Clancy on.
How's Gerald?
He's good.
I
He was
see him
solid.
popping up all the time on our tour.
Clancy's ice too because he talks forever.
Good.
Yeah, I was like, you want 12:15 or 12:30? He's like, I was like, or both. He's like, whatever you think. I'm like, yeah, we'll do both. More Cardinals talk, the better. Hour number 2. I did my best impression of you. That was pretty good. Hour number 2, Take the Points. Fox Sports 910 here at the beautiful CAZ Sportsbook in Casino, Arizona. I'm Mike Gross with Jackson Groff.
Sorry, I was just mixing up my protein shake. I missed the start of the segment.
That wasn't bad, though. That wasn't a bad impression. I've been doing the show with you way too long. The fact that I know your intro is
It's
crazy.
so predictable, isn't it?
Very predictable.
Hey, coming up this hour, can't wait to talk to Alex Clancy's Corner as we look at the NFL draft from primarily the Arizona Cardinals standpoint. And why don't you do this, Jackson, for our listeners who might be driving around? Let's recap the draft picks, the draft activity for this Arizona Cardinals team as day 3 of the NFL draft is, I don't know, maybe halfway through. We're into the 6th round, I believe. What are the Cardinals accomplished in your mind?
Yeah, so we're in the end of the 5th round, Gross. We're approaching the 6th round there, but I mean, this Cardinals team has been very active throughout the NFL draft. Oh, excuse me. They had this number 3 pick, which they traded with the Texans, went down to 12. Then they traded back up with the Lions at number 6 and got a Paris Johnson Jr. And during that process, they went up 1 spot in the 2nd round, as well as acquiring a 1st and 3rd round pick for next year, which is important because they were the Texans' own pick. And the Texans have the worst odds to win the Super Bowl. Cardinals have the 2nd worst odds. So if they're in a situation where they're 1 and 2 for an edge rusher, which is interesting. So basically, Will Anderson's going to have to perform in a Hall of Fame manner. And hopefully the Cardinals can capitalize on that 1st round pick for next year, 2 of them, that the Texans got them. So they could be the number 1 and number 2 pick of the 2024 NFL draft.
How insane would that be?
Could you imagine? Caleb Williams. I mean, obviously, I don't know if the Cardinals are going to draft Caleb Williams with Kyler Murray. We'll see. I think his contract's too big to trade him regardless, but they're going to have a lot of leeway at the number 1 pick if the Texans end up being the worst team again. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. is the guy that I would love in the Valley.
The one thing this team has managed to figure out over the years is how to draft wide receivers. So if that's the case, I wouldn't see anybody arguing that point. The other thing that I think, Jackson, that's interesting about that, because you recap what happened, but the other thing that was cool is to watch that happen in real time and watch the reactions, right? Because when the draft was starting, the so-called experts are looking at it and saying, look, the Texans are kind of the linchpin here in terms of how this thing's bricked. Do they go quarterback with that 2nd pick? Because they've been throwing up a lot of signals that they were definitely interested in Will Anderson Jr. at number 2. And I think that spooked a lot of people, particularly Cardinals fans. You're like, well, what do you do? If he's off the board, then you got to trade out.
Yeah.
You got to trade out. And when they took a quarterback at number 2, everybody's like, well, there you go. Will Anderson to the Cardinals. And then they traded and went all the way back to number 12. And I know that's when you had your reaction to, like, what the heck are they doing here?
Yeah.
Because that was too far of a drop, even picking up next year's number 1 from the Texans, because what are you going to get at that point? And then shortly thereafter, they flipped it and moved right back up and got the player ultimately they wanted. Because when you look at Paris Johnson Jr.'s name, this is a name that was also associated with the Cardinals pre-draft. And I think the consensus was he's a hell of a player, but not at number 3, right? So you fall back 3 spots, you pick him up at number 6, and you keep that number 1 pick from the Texans from a year ago. I think Cardinal fans have to love it. You can still be disappointed that you didn't get Will Anderson, because if you liked Will Anderson before the draft, you still like him. You're just bummed he's a Houston Texan. But at least he's in the AFC. You can watch him from afar, and you can say, I said the Cardinals should have drafted that guy. But you don't have to worry about him playing for the Seahawks, the team that you talked about. Can you imagine if he landed there or something like that? So I think this is a good outcome, because we go back to what the assessment was of the Cardinals leading up to this thing. They were not a Will Anderson away from being a good team.
I agree.
From being a decent team. Will Anderson, I don't think, even made this Cardinals team average, right? And that is nothing against Will Anderson. It's just how bad this team was under Steve Keim.
Yeah, and the Cardinals just drafted an inside linebacker, Owen Pappoe, 6 foot, 225 from Auburn. I like this pick. This is a guy that was the number 1 linebacker out of high school. I remember the name vividly. Played at Auburn. I mean, you got yourself another inside linebacker, more depth for this team. But when we recap what the Cardinals have picked, and I've actually been really impressed. I think Monty's doing a great job. 10 times, 20, 30, 40 times better than what Steve Keim's doing. And by the way, him calling Kyler Murray the little quarterback on their little NFL draft broadcast thing, I think was disrespectful. You're the one that drafted him. Don't call him that little quarterback.
And you gave him the contract.
Exactly. So the Cardinals had Paris Johnson Jr. at the number 6 pick. In the second round, they picked up B.J. Ujulere, a 6'2", 248 edge rusher out of LSU, which I love that pick.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett Williams, cornerback out of Syracuse, underrated cornerback. He's 5'10", but he's instinctive. He closes balls well that are thrown on him. He's got great closing speed. That was their third-round pick, as well as Michael Wilson, Stanford wide receiver, 6'2", 213, who can go up and grab it. He's a very underrated receiver, and Todd McShay has him as the 17th best receiver in this class.
Coming off an injury.
Which is scary.
Which is scary, but also, it's 2023, right? The injuries that might have scared you away from a player even a decade ago, you can come back from a lot quicker. Mm-hmm. So it may turn out to be a value pick down there.
100%. And then for the fourth-round pick, they picked up a guard out of UCLA, John Gaines II. Fifth round, they picked up Clayton Tune, quarterback out of Houston, which is shocking. They would go quarterback that early in the fifth round, but hey, they know more than we do. I guess they want to add more quarterbacks to their already full quarterback room.
I don't have any qualms with anything this team has done. And in fact, the draft acquisition, what they call it, the capital that they've acquired, I like it. I like everything they've done. I just don't understand that pick. I don't. And like you said, there's probably something, and they'll get up in front of the media and they'll talk about why they did what they did and why they picked a particular player. I just don't, that one in particular, doesn't make sense.
So the Cardinals have 2 more 6th-round picks, one of them coming up here shortly, which will probably be on the air with Clancy when it goes on, is the 6th-round pick, the number 3 pick in the 6th round. But Gross, let's kind of talk about this 1st and 2nd round real quick, the kind of what we were surprised by, what picks we liked, because like you mentioned, CJ Stroud at 2, he was not even the favorite at number 2. He was plus 450 to go at 2.
Right.
Number 3, Will Anderson was plus 500 to slip at number 3. But I think that's the shocker of the 1st round, and I think maybe the winner of this 1st round draft and maybe the whole draft has got to be the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh my goodness.
The fact that they could get Jalen Carter at 9, and they got Nolan Smith at 31. And then they got Keely Ringo in the 4th round, who you were a big fan of. Big steal in the 4th round.
Well, and that's the question that I have, right? And I was hoping that Keely Ringo might land here, right? I love the hometown angle. But look, here's a kid we watched when he played his high school football here and saw him do good things at Georgia and just had a drop this year, Jackson. I don't understand it. And look, again, guys' livelihoods are on the line when they're making these decisions. So they passed. Not only the Cardinals, but all these teams passed on Keely Ringo for a reason. But this Philadelphia Eagles team, my goodness, we talked about DeAndre Swift in the opening hour. The Lions traded away DeAndre Swift, their starting running back from a year ago, who was very productive on an up-and-coming team. He is now a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. And then all the members of the Georgia Bulldogs defenses teams acquired. Man, if you didn't like the Eagles already, you got to love what they've done this offseason.
I'm looking at their defense right now. They've got a ton of depth. They've got Darius Slay. They got Brandon Graham. They got Jordan Davis. They got Jalen Carter as a backup on this depth chart. Nolan Smith as a backup to Reddick and to Josh Sweat, And then they got Sidney Brown in the draft, safety out of Illinois, great pick. And Keely Ringo is a 3rd-string guy who will be a good guy for special teams. But, if he's your 3rd string, you've got some depth there at corner.
I'm going to go back to Jalen Carter and that pick there. Here's a guy that, and it was of his own doing. A lot of red flags surrounded Jalen Carter because if you go all the way back to the end of the college football season, if you recall, it was Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. Will Anderson, Jalen Carter. And he had some off-field issues. And then he had some bad performances at the Combine and an even worse performance at the Pro Day at Georgia. And so there's question marks just coming up left and right about this kid. And if he was going to go someplace, I think this is a perfect landing spot for him with his teammates, with guys that know him, with guys that he's been with to hopefully help him get his pro career off on the right foot. Because you heard, not by just people like me that just throw things out there effect, people that know better and have studied this stuff for a while and making comparisons to him and Robert Kondicha, a guy that the Cardinals rolled the dice on, Steve. And you know how that went for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Right? Whether that's a fair comparison or not, I don't know, but it was out there. It was in the public forum. And so there had to be something just like we said, completely different situations. Keely Ringo fell for a reason, and if you dig into it, they're questioning technique and footwork and things like that, which are critical when you're playing at the highest level, in a secondary especially. But there were certainly valid questions about this guy. But landing in Philadelphia with all the other guys that he knows and know him, I think is a perfect spot and will be a potential for a huge payoff for the Eagles.
And on top of that, all of his Georgia teammates are there. But on top of that, you've got guys like Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox in your position room that can lead you and that can tell you everything that you need to know, give you advice and how to stay out of trouble, how to deal with the media and fans and so forth.
Right.
You got Jason Kelsey, you've got Lane Johnson. Those are the 4 guys that have been the foundation of the Eagles, which I go back to the Cardinals. You got to re-sign and you got to pay the man, Budda Baker, because when you look at this team, their building blocks, their foundation, it's got to be James Conner, DJ Humphries, Budda Baker, Zach Ertz, and Kyler Murray, who's starting to show out more, who's starting to be out in the community, who's starting to go out to practice, which is nice.
Real quickly before we get out of here,
yeah,
we got Alex Clancy coming up in our next segment. If there's a dumber story that broke leading up to this draft than Mike Florio criticizing the Cardinals for going to Norman, Oklahoma for the statue unveiling for Kyler. And again, Kyler got a statue because everybody who wins a Heisman Trophy at Oklahoma wins a statue. Like, it wasn't it was. You win a Heisman.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, but it's not like Kyler got something other Heisman Trophy winners. That's what they do at Oklahoma. It's a tradition. And so the Cardinals went en masse to Norman, Oklahoma. Michael Bidwell put him on the plane and flew him out, and they celebrated their quarterback. Look, I don't have one problem with that. They were studying film on the plane. They were studying film on the way to the ceremony. They were studying film on the way back, right? I think that was the dumbest story.
I agree.
Going. Because the flip side of the story would be if they didn't go, oh, look, they sent their quarterback. They don't support their quarterback. They don't like. He's not. You got to do these types of things. It's PR. It's window dressing. It's a guy with an ego that you got to stroke a little bit, whatever. That was a dumb story, Mike Florio.
Everything that
talk about DeAndre Ayton listening.
Everything that Monty and JG are doing right now, I'm a big fan of. This is what you need for your culture, is to stand out and go out there and support your starting quarterback. And the fact that we're seeing him at OTAs, we're seeing him at these voluntary workouts. Yes, he's not working out because he's hurt, but the fact that he's there, it's a big step forward. You can tell the respect factor between Gannon and Murray is there.
And the same thing, I agree 100% with you, though I would pare that list down that you said you got to have. In my mind, it begins and ends with Budda Baker. All those other names that you mentioned, they're nice players, they're important players. You want to have them, you want to have them productive. But the linchpin in that whole list is Budda Baker. He is the face of this franchise right now. When they hired the head coach, who's the first player that he greeted in the weight room right after the season ended?
Budda Baker.
Right. Budda Baker is the guy. All right, we'll step aside here. Lots more NFL talk, lots more Cardinals talk coming up next on Fox Sports 910. That's so dumb, Florio.
I know, right?
I try to give Florio the benefit of the doubt.
I hate Florio. He's the worst.
Sean kills me anytime I bring that up. It's like, oh, you talk about that guy.
We didn't even talk about D-Hop yet. Or the whole tampering violation.
How did you do, Clancy? Did you text him or what?
Did I text him?
Like to let him know?
No.
Let him know we're going to take a break probably around 12:30. And we want him to stay, but just let him know we'll just throw it to a break while he's with us. Know what I mean?
Hey, Richie. Hey, Richie. Can you let Alex, so we're going to have him on 12:15 and 12:30. So just tell him that we're going to go at a break to just stay on the line, I guess. If that makes sense. Perfect. There you go, Richie. Richie's got it under control. Bitch, I'm a boss like Uko. We can ask him what grade would he give the Cardinals draft so far. He's gonna be like, D-. Then goes off.
I'm super excited to be a part of the organization. I'm super excited they gave me the opportunity to be a part of the organization. Can't wait.
With the 150
I know they wishing they was one of us. Living in the never knew.
Oh, the professionals. Oh, damn. The Raiders got a safety from Georgia. How did he not go to Philly?
Oh no! Oh no! Is the way to go. Call 977-1900.
Rock and Manooch. I haven't seen Casey yet, have you?
I'm not. I think I see his head. I think I see him.
Dude, I don't know how much money they make here, but that'd be a cool job to sit here and work.
Oh my gosh! What? That'd be so sick. That'd be so easy.
Sitting there with the TVs on. One dude's wearing his Pirates jersey. You get your car back yet?
Not yet. No.
Dude.
They said they gotta get a radiator or something like that. It's annoying. It's been like 3 weeks. My dad's car that I'm driving takes a ton of gas. And gas prices are so high right now.
I'm reading Alex's tweets. I kind of like the way this guy thinks. Interior offensive line.
I know. I've actually been looking at his tweets too.
Welcome back. Mike Gross, Jackson Groff taking up to 1 o'clock today. NFL draft winding down, and it's been a big couple of days for the Arizona Cardinals. Help us break down the Cardinals NFL draft. Alex Clancy joins us. He's the host of Locked On Arizona Cardinals, daily podcast covering the Redbirds. And Alex joins us now. Alex, it's Mike, and wait a minute. Jackson, how you doing today? We appreciate your time today and looking through some of the things that you have tweeted out here recently. You know, these are things that we want to get into, so this is perfect. Hey, kind of take us through where your brain was at Thursday evening when the Cardinals traded out of number 3, dropped down to 12, and then kind of ricocheted right back up in to pull off the trade that they did, to pull off the draft pick that they did. But as that was unfolding, what were you thinking, Alex? Uh-huh. But I think you make a great point, Alex, and you still see it out there, and I understand it to a certain degree, that there's a lot of disappointment that they don't have Will Anderson. I get that at one level because I still think, whatever you thought about him before the draft, you still think about it now. But the reality of the thing here in Arizona is this team was not a Will Anderson away from being, I won't even say a playoff team, just a decent team, an average team. I mean, Will Anderson wasn't going to do that much to move the needle in terms of wins and losses. So sometimes you got to make these decisions. And I couldn't agree with you more because this number one pick a year from now that the Texans have sent to the Cardinals, I mean, the Texans are better than they were, but they're still not a good football team. This is going to be a really good pick.
Six first-round picks. That'd be that'd be crazy. That'd be awesome for this Cardinals team. Alex Clancy joins us, and I want to talk about rounds 2 to 5 right now. Your thoughts on who the Cardinals have selected? There's been some guys that are underrated, like Michael Wilson, B.J. Ujulari, Garrett Williams. I go on and on, but I want to give you the floor. And then what do you think about this Clayton Tune quarterback picking a quarterback in the 5th round? And then when you break down Paris Johnson Jr., left tackle being his normal position, but he's played left guard as well. Do you expect this Cardinals team to place him at left guard alongside DJ Humphries, and then when his time's right to go to that left tackle spot? Or where do you think is best fit for Paris Johnson? Mm-hmm.
We're visiting with Alex Clancy. Follow him on Twitter at Clancy's Corner, host of Locked On Arizona Cardinals podcast. Hey, Alex, we're going to step aside here and take a quick break. Can we ask you to wait on hold with us? There's so much more we want to get to with you, and we'll do that on the other side of the break if that's all right. All right, Alex will hang with us, and Jackson, so much more to get to. So we'll step aside here, take a quick break. More Cardinals talk on the other side right here on Fox Sports 910.
So we could get into maybe who he thinks.
There you go.
What do you say? What do you say? Who? Richie? We could talk about who the Cardinals should look at in the 6th round, and then we can talk about what
I
he
want to
thinks.
go back to the offensive line real quick. Then.
Okay, I can talk D-Hop too, and what Austin.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Oh. Hard drop.
One day it's not going to end well for you.
It didn't that one time.
I know. Year did the Cardinals go to the Super Bowl? 2009?
Yeah.
Oh, Bandito Yankee. Do you guys drink tequila on the days you go out to that show?
I don't know. No, we don't know.
That'd be good radio.
I know. That's what I said. Jimmy should at least.
Right, Toyota. I go for Venezia Pizza right now.
Ooh. Venencias. Ooh.
Dude, these are the most
I like
comfortable
those.
shoes
I like
ever.
those shoes. I like those shoes.
They're so comfortable. So comfortable. And I go to Adidas to get them, and they're gone. I found them someplace else. I can't tell you where, because you'll go buy them up. And I don't want you to do that.
I won't buy them. I promise.
I don't know what it is, but they're cushy. The size, whatever size they are, they fit perfectly. to speed this up a little bit. That needs to be like the bank disclosure. Faster. Welcome back. Mike Gross, Jackson Groff. We're out at the Sportsbook at Casino Arizona, coming out to see us. We're visiting with Alex Clancy, talking about the Arizona Cardinals draft going on right now. And Alex, and again, we mentioned it before. Our listeners follow you on Twitter at Clancy's Corner, and you've been doing a great job breaking down some of these picks, not necessarily X's and O's, but kind of beneath the numbers. And you had a great point about John Gaines, who the Cardinals drafted. Started 29 consecutive games over the last 3 years in college, and the importance of having that interior line help. Alex, I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can tell you the year the Cardinals went to the Super Bowl, that offensive line, the 5 guys that made up the offensive line, started every game of that season. And whatever the other reasons were that they had success, the offensive line, who a lot of Cardinal fans right now couldn't name all 5 of them right now without a little bit of help. But having that kind of, I don't even know how to describe it, looking at college and guys that show up and play, guys that are character guys, I think that's important as part of this rebuild and what they're doing. And I think you captured it beautifully in that team. Mm-hmm.
Monty Ossenfort spoke to the media after the Paris Johnson Jr. Pick on Thursday, and Howard Balzer asked him about DeAndre Hopkins, and he said that DeAndre Hopkins is a Cardinal and won't be traded. Do you buy that, Clancy? And do you think that the Cardinals and D-Hop could maybe fix their relationship in time for the season? What do you think was going to happen for D-Hop moving forward?
Alex Clancy with us talking Cardinals, and you make a great point about DeAndre Hopkins. So the next question, I suppose, needs to be about Budda Baker. And again, you talk about, you kind of, I don't want to say it makes sense, but you could at least kind of see the DeAndre Hopkins thing coming. This Budda Baker thing for a Cardinals fan has to be really concerning. And you talk about the face of the franchise. Obviously, it's usually the quarterback, and I get that. But when they hired the new head football coach, who's the first guy he met who was in the weight room working out right after the season? It was Buda Baker. Like every time you talk about this team, guys with what they mean to the franchise and the like, it's Buda Baker. They've got to fix that thing before the season starts. I believe. What are your thoughts about Buda? Yep.
And it's funny too, because on Fanatics you can actually the new uniforms you can buy. It's got Kyler Murray on the top, and it's got D-Hop, and it's got Buda Baker. So I think the Cardinals are hoping that both those guys stay and people are repping those jerseys. But I got to ask you, Alex, the Cardinals are about to pick in the 6th round here. They're on the clock currently at the 3rd pick in the 6th round. Where do you think they target? Are there any prospects that you have in mind? I know Luke Whippler, a guy that Paris Johnson kind of wanted in the press conference, is still on the board. But what are your takes on the Cardinals here in the 6th round? Ooh.
Asked him about the Suns. So wrap it up.
He is still available. I like that.
Wrap it up with Alex Clancy here, and good enough to do 2 segments with us, which is awesome, as breaking down the NFL draft from the Arizona Cardinals perspective. But Alex, obviously in town, the big sports story behind the draft is the Suns as they get ready for the Western Conference semifinals against the Nuggets. That game tips off in about 4 hours or so from the Mile High City. 5 hours from now from the Mile High City. We've got a Twitter poll question going, and we want to get your thoughts. Denver in 4 or 5, Denver in 6 or 7, or the same for the Suns, 4 or 5, 6 or 7. What do you think happens, Suns and Nuggets, in that series? Go. Hey, Alex, great stuff today. We
appreciate you, Alex. Music to my ears about D-Hop and everything you said. We appreciate you.
Absolutely, and we'll give it a little time for the dust to settle, and we'll come back and take a deeper dive into this draft and the results of the Cardinals at some point in the near future. But he's Alex Clancy. Follow him on Twitter, Clancy's Corner, and again, his podcast, Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Alex, great stuff. We appreciate you, man. That was good stuff.
Yeah,
all over
great.
The map. And I got to ask you this question because I go to the well way too many times on this. And you're a hell of a lot younger. Where were you when the Cardinals won the Super Bowl?
So I actually went to the Super Bowl with my dad.
Oh, so you were there?
Yeah, we were there. So we had season tickets, and we won a bid or something, and we We had 4 season tickets. We got 2 tickets to the Super Bowl, but they were nosebleeds.
So
So
still in the building.
I'm not done yet. My dad sold them for like double the worth. We were 3rd row Steelers end zone. So Harrison was running at us. Fitz was running at us, and the Santonio Holmes catch was on the other side of the field. I cried, and since then the Cardinals haven't won a Super Bowl, and I'm hoping they do. Or if the Suns win a championship, I'll be very happy.
I want to be out. I want to be you when I grow up, Jackson.
The Cardinals' 6th-round pick is in. They have picked a cornerback out of Louisville.
All right, real quickly before we go to the break, we'll talk about the cornerback in a minute. Do you know the starting offensive line for that Cardinals team in the Super Bowl?
I'm gonna guess Levi Brown.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Deuce Latui.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. Oh my God, their center.
Texas Longhorn.
That's not gonna. It's. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Lyle Sendeline was the starting
That's
center.
who it was. I knew it ended with the line.
The
Yeah.
left side of the offensive line, or offensive line.
DJ Humphries.
Reggie Wells,
Okay.
and then the tackle was Mike Gandy.
Oh, that was a great offensive line.
It wasn't though, but it was a productive offensive line. It was a healthy offensive line. And following up on the point that Alex made, it was a lucky offensive line because when you play in the National Football League, 16 games back then.
Well, and then they had a wild card. They didn't even have a 1st-round bye, so they played 4 games. Played 20
exactly.
games.
But the fact that you had this guy, the group of guys who none of them are Hall of Famers, none of them. I mean, and I'm not being disrespectful here, but a big part of this is luck. A big part of this is what it takes, and you've got to see that from guys in college. And I think that's the point that Clancy was making when he was on this. All right, we'll step aside here. On the other side,
We got Casey.
Casey from the Sportsbook joins us to wrap up the show. Coming up on Fox Sports 910.
I don't want you to screw his name up. What up?
What's up, man?
Not much. You guys ready for the big game tonight?
Oh yeah.
That's why we're here.
Who do you think's winning tonight?
I don't know, but
We'll put you on this side over here. Put him in
the
a
numbers
3.
moving, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It was 2.5 yesterday. It's 3.5 this morning.
Yeah.
What are you guys seeing here?
Everybody's been Suns here, but
Probably not enough to move it.
yeah, market-wise, it's all Nuggets so far.
I bet.
I think tonight's a tough game for them to win, though.
Suns?
Yeah.
I got Suns at 5, dog.
No, you don't.
I do.
Really?
I do.
I don't see it. My head says don't go against a team that only lost 9 games at home this year.
Yeah.
And I'm playing in altitude with a shorter bench.
The Suns haven't been as good on the road.
Yeah, we do it on YouTube and Twitter. Yes, or just look at taking points.
You hear?
Taking points,
I
yeah.
hear you.
Hello.
A little louder. Good. All right, there we go. Oh, you got the boss evaluating your work today.
Yes, sir.
With the clipboard.
Yeah. We got Big Jack over. Who do you guys got tomorrow? Kings or Warriors? Kings or Warriors tomorrow?
I got
Ooh.
Kings, man. I'm hoping Kings. Okay, I'm hoping Kings, but I think Steph Curry and the Warriors get it done, unfortunately. I think they're favored right now, aren't they?
Yeah, it's gone down though. It's 1.5 down to 1.
We got to do our picks, huh?
Yeah, we get Casey. We get Casey's picks too.
All right, we'll get out like 2 minutes. We'll blow through them.
You guys don't do NFL draft bets or anything, do you? Or did you? You did?
Yeah.
Okay. We can talk about that, I guess. Do you have any big attention on the draft, or
Not really anything.
No. it's so unpredictable? It's
The thing that
tough.
was crazy was Will Levis went to minus 1,500 to be a top 5 pick.
Wow. That's nuts.
But that Reddit thread threw everything off.
Aye.
Breakfast sandwich is good today.
Oh yeah.
So good.
I don't know the waitress's name that works over there at the bar, but Jax, I felt like a jerk today. We were getting set up and she was standing there. And I walked by her and I was like the manager doing the pitching change. I just like,
I'm ready.
give me 2 on white.
He was from here.
Thanks again to Alex Clancy for breaking it down for us. Appreciate his time. 2 segments worth. Working a little overtime with us today. And we'll get him back. We'll get dust settle a little bit. Let this draft class sink in. We'll have Alex back to help us break it down. But keeping it rolling along here in our final segment, Casey from the Sportsbook here at Casino Arizona joins us. And man, we were just talking about good places to work, and we're jealous. We want to be you, hanging out at the Sportsbook and interacting with the guests. You guys are awesome there at the window. And what we like is you come up to the window. If you got in mind what you want to do, you're very business-like. Hey, give me, we're talking about the Leafs and the Lightning tonight. Jackson's all over the Lightning tonight. It's Maple Leafs' inability to close series out. But you guys will take care of it and lock it in. But if you have questions, if you need help, you guys will do that as well. So it's very much a fan-friendly sportsbook here.
Yeah, of course. If you have any questions, any concerns, anything like that come up, we're happy to guide you through all the bets. Any questions you have, straight bets, parlays, anything like that, player props, we can help you out with that.
When a knucklehead like me walks up there and does something that's not right, like it's just not right, do you question it? Do you say, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure? Or once the customer has their mind made up, you just kind of take their money and process it?
Yeah, we just have them verify, make sure that's exactly what they want. Any kind of questions, feel free to ask them.
All right, Suns Nuggets. Casey, where's the money favoring in this matchup, and what kind of other bets have you been seeing in this matchup that are popular here in the Valley?
Yeah, so far today, pretty much everybody's taking Suns plus 3.5, more or less pretty much like a hometown thing. As the line, keeps going up, Suns will keep getting that. And we also have a lot of overs coming in.
227 is the over, but interesting. All the money here, which makes sense, right? Right smack dab in the middle of Suns country. But nationally, worldwide, whatever you look at it, that number moved. Jackson and I talked about it earlier. Started at 2.5 yesterday, and wake up this morning, check the board here at the CAZ Sportsbook, and you see 3.5. So elsewhere,
yeah,
they're all in on the Nuggets.
Yeah, elsewhere it's definitely all in on the Nuggets. Another interesting thing about it is the Suns are actually favored in the series.
Ooh,
The Suns are favored in the series. Suns are favored in the Western Conference still, but they are not favored in tonight's game. What impact have you seen, or when you look at it, when you think about the Suns? I know you got a lot of work to get there, but the elimination of the Bucks
I was about to say,
had a
yeah.
lot of Suns fans breathing easier.
Oh, for sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, now the East pretty much everybody's figured Bucks, Celtics. Now it's pretty much just get by the Nuggets, and everybody kind of feels close to their way there.
Okay, Casey, so at the end of the show, we do our picks. We want to involve you in the picks this weekend. We got 2 NBA, and 1 NHL game. You think you can handle that, Casey? You think you got it? Okay, all right.
Our picks now?
Let's do them now. Yeah, we got about 6 minutes left. We might as well get them in before we can ask Casey more questions. But the first one, Suns at Nuggets. Nuggets favored by 3.5, over under at 227. For me, I got the Suns minus 3.5. I think the Suns team comes out the gate and they go hot. They start shooting well from mid-range. I think the key guy to look out for today is Chris Paul.
Give me the over.
Okay.
I think I look at this one, 3.5. I don't know. I like the over, though. Give me the over. I think these two teams are going to put the foot on the accelerator, feel each other out a little bit as these series go along. Then you start to see it get a little bit more defensive. So 227, was it 227, 227 and a half? I'll take it.
Casey, what are you thinking?
Tonight, I'm going to take Nuggets for game one. I do like the Suns in the series, but tonight with the altitude, things like that. First bench for the Suns, and I think the Heat is probably going to struggle with it.
Okay, fair enough. Next one we got is the Warriors at Kings, Game 7 tomorrow, and the odds just changed from -1 in favor of the Warriors. The odds are now even. Over under total at 229. I want the Kings, but I got to be smart. I think the Warriors have more experience. I like the Warriors in this one. Gross?
I'm going Warriors as well. I think experience plays out, and I know the Warriors haven't been great away from San Francisco this year, but it's a short bus ride over to Sacramento, and they've already won once there in the series. So give me the Warriors.
Casey?
We're all on the same page in this one. I'm going to take Warriors as well. I think you're better off probably taking the Warriors today. I think a lot of money
And that stinks because Charles Barkley guaranteed the Kings to win that series, and he did place some money here at the Sportsbook on the Kings winning the series over the Warriors. Well, the next one we go NHL, Tampa Bay, Toronto. Toronto is a 1.5-point underdog against Tampa Bay, but Toronto leads the series, I believe. Correct, Gross? Correct. Over under 6.5 goals. Give me the under. I think that 6.5 goals is a lot of goals. I don't really see that going over. Gross?
I like Tampa in this one. Toronto 0-11 in their last 11 games to close out a series. I think it goes to 0-12, and then we can talk about Monday night in Toronto, whether or not they can get it done. But tonight, I just got a feeling it's going to be Tampa.
I'm going to go under as well as 6.5 in that game as well. They're going to tighten up their defensive shifts.
Love it. Good stuff. Look at Casey jumping right in. We didn't even tell him we were going to do that. That's, we come in, we try. We're like Jerry Springer just passed away. We're like, throw somebody on the headset and whatever comes your way. And we're going to do one more for you as we let you get out of here, Casey, when we wrap up the show. But we've got our Twitter poll question of the day at Fox 910 Saturday, and we asked our listeners, and you talked about it a minute ago. You didn't give your official answer, but you alluded to it. Who wins the Western Conference Series and in how many? So we've got Denver in 4 or 5 games as a choice, Denver in 6 or 7, Phoenix in 4 or 5, Phoenix in 6 or 7. What say you, Casey? How's this series going to play out?
I think the Suns got the star power to get it done. I'm going to say them in 6.
There you go. You are with the majority of our listeners, of the people that have cast votes at Fox 910 Saturday. Over 61% of them, Jackson, say the Suns in 6 or 7 games. Jackson here, he's a lot more optimistic. He likes the Suns. He said it might be a sweep, but he'll just edge his bets and call it in 5.
Suns in 5. I'm going to be bold when I say this. Cash the ticket. Let's go, Suns. Big game tonight. Step up DeAndre and step up Chris Paul. Hopefully the altitude isn't a huge factor in tonight's game.
Casey, as we let you wrap up hours of the Sportsbook here at Casino Arizona. Your hours of operation.
Hours of operation here. We're open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. But we also have the kiosks available that you can use 24/7. We have 6 of them located in Arizona, 6 at Top Coast.
Awesome. As you said, great staff over here. Anytime you need help at the window, speaking from experience, they'll help you out and point you in the right direction. Casey, as always, good to see you. Enjoy the games this week, and we'll see how you do in your picks. Thanks for playing along with us. That's going to about do it, Jackson, as we get ready to wrap up today's show from the Sportsbook here at CAZ. I should say the CAZ Sportsbook at Casino Arizona. We've had a great time. Love this place. We had the breakfast sandwich to kick it off. Casey, how'd the breakfast sandwich go? It's like he knows. And a great guest. Appreciate Dave King coming on, breaking down the Suns and the Nuggets. And then Alex Clancy, not 1 but 2 segments as we look at the NFL draft, particularly from the Arizona Cardinals perspective, and then just wrapped it up with Casey. So good week here, or good day here at the Sportsbook.
Yeah, we got the NFL draft wrapping up right now. Cardinals have one more pick as we know of. Who knows what other movements they'll make. But I'm excited. Arizona Cardinals had a rough free agency, and I think they kind of made it up here with the draft. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll see what latest updates come with DeAndre Hopkins, Budda Baker, and Kyler Murray's injury.
Don't forget Rocket Minucci with Jimmy B, Monday through Friday, 1 to 4 right here on the station. And great job by Richie back in the studio. Richie, appreciate you today. And we'll be back next Saturday for a next edition of Take the Point.